This video is on quadratic expressions and equations. Okay, so we're going to be looking at a few different examples of where you just have to factorize, expand, and then we're also going to be looking at solving. And after that, then I'll look at different versions of solving as well. So key points, obviously, that we need to know that we have to know our factors at this point. If you don't know your factors, that's going to stop you from going very far on this. The other thing that you need to remember is that when you're doing anything with equations, if you're solving, you want it to equal 0 before you start factorizing. Some cases people try and factorize first, and then what they're having to do is then restart because it's not equaling to 0. So you're going to have a problem there. So to start off with, we've got 3 just expanding questions. So pause the screen if you need to, have a go at these, and I'll go through the answers now. So the first one's quite a nice one. So it's up to you which method you use. I tend to use kind of like the crab claw, lobster claw type of method. So just going right over and down. Now in your exams, I would write out the full method, even if you do the shortened version. It's just because you don't want to make any mistakes during your exam. So there we go. That gives us 8x. And then the last bit, 4 times minus 3 gives us minus 12. Once you do this method, you should see these 2 bits by there. They're going to simplify together. So our final answer for the first one is 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. So that's I. We go to II. There we go. We got 3x minus 4 and 3x plus 4. Again, same thing. So that gives us 9x squared. Chuck it over to the other side. That's 12x minus 12x. And the last one, minus 16. With this question is actually showing the difference of 2 squares. As you'll see, these 2 cancel out, giving us just minus 16 as our answer, just so be aware that it does happen. And the last question. Whenever we see a scenario like this, remember that it's 2x plus 1, 2x plus 1. Okay, so even though they're only showing you one bracket, it's the same as that bracket being multiplied by itself. And again, just going through it like so. There we go. And again. And again, just remembering 1 times 1 is 1. Don't make that mistake at the end. So our final answer there would be 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. So that's the first 3 questions. So double check that you've got those. Next ones we're looking at is when we've got factorizing and then a question with solving. So whenever we're factorizing, key things to think of is that we're looking at the factors of 14. So if I start I by here, so the factors of 14, I've got 1 and 14, 2 and 7, and that's it. And we're looking at how to make 5. So to make 5, I'm going to be doing 7 minus 2. So all I do then is x plus 7 and x minus 2. And that's it. So the second question is the difference of 2 squares. This is because it hasn't got a middle part. And we also know because it hasn't got factors the same either one. And you'll see that there's 2 square numbers appearing. So when we're looking at this one, it's nicer than it looks. Okay, so we know 5 times 5 is going to give us 25. And we know 6 times 6 is going to give us 36. So II is going to be, oh, where's my pen gone then? Here we go. 5x plus 6 and 5x minus 6. And this is because when we expand out, we want that middle section to cancel out. That's why we have a plus and a negative on our values before the 6. So that's really important for this question. So it's the difference of 2 squares, and you'll notice that because both will be square numbers. And that's just your way of solving that part. And the last question. So this one, you can do this with like a trial and improvement method, but my favorite way of doing this is actually using a slightly different method that you'll use if you take on maths further at A level. It's a great method to use. So we're going to use 2 times 9 gives us 18. And then we're going to write down the factors of 18. So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and that's it. Now we're looking at which ones give us plus 9. Well, it's going to be this one by here, because they add together to make 9. So then what we do when you've got a scenario like this, when there's a number in front of the, well, there's a number in front of the first part of the variables. So we're going to do 2x squared, and we're essentially splitting that 9x up. So plus 3x plus 6x plus 9, like here. Now, if I put a little dotted line through there, we're going to factorize now each one. So x is common in both. That leaves me with 2x plus 3. And again, this one should give me 2x plus 3. And what's common with that? That it's got a 3 on the outside. Once you've done that, so all I do is factorize each individual side. And 2 brackets inside need to be the same. That's the important thing of this. Then to finish the question off, we've got 2x plus 3 and x plus 3. And that's that. So they're the harder style of questions, but I quite like them. Another style, so solving the equations. This is a typical question you have. Now, it could have been something simple as I on this one were equaling to 0, or it could be as difficult as one of these questions. Again, follow that same method. So 2 times 6 gives us 12. And we want the factors of 12, so 1 and 12. Try and keep them in the pairs as well. It makes it so much easier. 2 and 6 and 3 and 4. And this time we want to just have x, so I'm going to use 3 and 4. So I'm going to add 4, take away 3. Okay, so I'm going to write these out now. So 2x squared plus 4x minus 3x minus 6. Again, dot it down the line. This time in common, I've got 2x that's in common with both. X plus 2. And then here I've got 3 in common. So minus 3 I'm going to take out because I've got a plus in there. I need my bracket to be plus. So if I take the minus out, then that can be a plus on that side. Once I've done these, I write my 2 brackets. There we go. And x plus 2. Now this is equal to 0, so I'm just going to write that back in at that stage just to make sure I can get my marks. When it says it's equal to 0, essentially behind the scenes, what is happening? That you've got 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, and x plus 2 is equal to 0. That's what's going on. So you might have known the quick method of change the sign, flip the fraction, and so on, but you can just solve it at this point if it's easier. So 2x equals 3, so x has to be 3 over 2, or 1.5 as some people might say, and x here must be minus 2. So that's just showing that you're going to get all those marks. So if you are a little bit stuck, that's the method I'd go with there. Okay, last question. Have a go if you need to pause it, and then if you're happy, just carry on listening. So the examiners are giving you a clue on this question because it says, give your solutions correct to 3 significant figures. Now, if we're looking at any type of factorizing, we're probably not going to have 3 significant figures unless they're asking you to convert a fraction into a decimal, which is going to be a little bit insane for just a small question. So what they're really saying is here is use the quadratic formula. It's in the front of your paper. So go and grab that. So if you haven't already memorized it, some of you might have, it's b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if we can imagine, when we have the quadratic formula, it follows the pattern of this. So your a is the number in front of your x squared, so your coefficient, which in this case a equals 1. B, well, so it's usually plus b, so if I've got a minus, I've got to write that in, minus 5, and c, which is 3. Now you get a mark for writing it down. So what I would do straight away is substitute that a in, which is also something that they could ask you to do in your exam, and it gives you marks as well. So all I'm going to do is substitute my values in, because I can change them afterwards, but it's good for me just to see what I'm doing, because otherwise you're just doing quite a lot of work and it's never fun. So 1, 3. Oh, that's a really bad line. And 2 times 1. I do this because I can simplify quite quickly before I even start working. So straight away now I know the minus and the minus on the outside, so they cancel out. So that's just going to give me 5 plus or minus. That's going to cancel out to 25. And that's going to give me minus 12 by there. And that's going to be 2 on the bottom. So before I even type it into the calculators, I've done already some workings that it's going to save me some time from making mistakes in my calculator. I'm just going to finish that off. So 25 take away 12 is 13, and that's all over 2. Once you get to this stage in your calculator, you're going to do one with a plus, one with a negative, okay? Don't try and find the symbol for a plus and a minus. It's not going to happen. So first one over 2. We just type it in. So 5 on top plus root 13 over 2. That gives me, so 3 significant figures. I got 4.30. Now you can work your way back on the calculator and just change that plus to a minus. So 5 minus root 13 over 2. And that will give you 0.697. There you go. And that's that done. Hopefully that helps and you can see the differences. Obviously, we want to be factorizing when we can. If you can't factorize, go to the quadratic formula. But usually it'll be asking for significant figures. That's your hint that you need the quadratic formula. Hopefully that helps. Thank you. Bye.